How to use crystals. Would you like to know? There's so many different ways of using crystals and different ideas and understandings depending on what culture and belief system you come from. From going the pagan route, which was more about witchcraft and earthy religions and using crystals in that way, to even in churches, they have them in the different rituals that they use. The different parts of the clergy further up have different crystals that they have and utilize in their ceremonial gear. There's so much about crystals that is relevant to today and relevant to you no matter what ethnicity or religion or space that you come from. So hi, I'm Kelly Green. Welcome to Joyous Earth. Today is all about crystals and how to use them, how to actually make them a practical tool and healing device, focusing device in your everyday life. So the first part of working with crystals is actually understanding what they are. So I've got in my YouTube videos, there's some other videos that go into this in a little bit more detail. But today I'd like to just give you a rundown quickly on what they are. So here we go. Let's start here. So this is an amazing cut. So it's been cut, obviously, crystal that I use a lot. What this particular crystal does, it's been growing underneath the earth over millions and millions of years, and it has formed a specific signature, vibration, personality, whatever works for you. So because it's held that signature for a really, really, really long time, and also because of the chemical and mineral way that it's been created, it stays in that vibration consistently. Whereas we, because we're very dynamic and we don't live as long, and there's a lot more other things going on with us, our physical makeup can change, our emotional makeup can change really, really fast. So someone says, "Oh my God, you look amazing today," and you feel fantastic. Or someone says, "Oh, can you get over yourself?" You drop back down again, depending on how you feel about yourself. So with crystals, what they do is they help us stay in a consistent vibration for long periods of time so we can facilitate change or healing or create certain things in our life. So if you imagine crystals as a toolkit or a tool with consciousness, because they do also have consciousness as well, which hopefully after today you'll have a really good idea for yourself. It won't just be my words. So, okay, to be able to use a crystal, you have to actually work with it. So I term it like a friendship. So if you have somebody that you know and they're an acquaintance, you can hang out with them, but you never sort of go underneath that surface level. You never actually really get to know them, and they never actually get to really facilitate change or healing in your life. So with a crystal, instead of having, if you've bought crystals and they're sitting on your shelf and they still are emitting their vibration, but they work best when you actually connect your heart or your consciousnesses together and you become friends. That's when you start to actually understand and be able to use crystals to their full potential, and also know when they're not good for you. So to be able to use a crystal properly, it's good to have somebody else's opinion. So to have looked up a book and go, okay, well, this crystal does this, this, and this. But then you get it home and you stick it on the shelf and it does nothing for you. So it means nothing. So what I want you to do, if you have, I'm assuming that if you're watching this, you do own crystals. So what I would love you to do is to get one of your crystals now. It doesn't matter whether it's a small piece or a really big piece. And we're going to do a quick 30-second to a minute connection. So we're just going to dive straight in with this. So what I want you to do is go and find your crystal. Hopefully you've got one close to you. And then I'm just going to spend a few moments just relaxing, coming back into our body. So holding your crystal and just getting out of your head and breathing into your heart. Just feeling your body relax, everything dropping down and you're expanding and opening up. A few more breaths, breathing down into your heart. And then I'd like you to hold your crystal. I'm assuming that you've already got it. And just put it next to your heart. Just say hello. You can say it verbally, but it's about intention. And what I usually do is, especially when you're starting out, what I usually do is open my heart to it. This is who I am. It's pretty brave, especially if you've not been liking yourself very much lately. The power of this is that because crystals don't have a personality per se, as in they're not judgmental. They just either work with you or they don't, or you like how they work with you or you don't. So open yourself up to it. There's a peace that comes in, or an uplifting, or different energy that comes in when you two connect. So it's like connecting with a friend. Thing is, the trick with this is not to overthink it, to actually feel what's happening in your body, to take notice or be present with the feelings and emotions coming up through your brain. I can feel this now, working all along my spine. And I practice this all the time, but anybody can know it. All you need to do is be breathing and present in your body. What parts in your body are tense? What parts are relaxing? It's about having curiosity and being gentle, inviting your brain to come into your body and understand and feel the relationship. A really good way of doing it is just doing it for a little bit to start with and just noticing a change. And then you can put your crystal down. Instantly, I noticed that I have changed since before I had it, before I picked it up, but instantly I'm not so heavy. I'm not so drawn down into the earth when I put that crystal down, even though it's still just really close to me. I do notice a difference. This is how you use crystals. Okay, so this is about small micro steps. This is about paying attention, being curious, feeling what the relationship is. So I had an amazing lady in my shop one day and we were working with rose quartz. I think I've told this story before, but it was really profound for me to get this. And we were working with rose quartz and we're actually doing crystal grids. So we just had a whole bunch of crystals. They could get anything they wanted off the shelves and we were putting them into grids on the floor. And she said, I don't like this grid. There's something wrong with it. I'm like, oh, what do you feel? How does it make you feel? And she's like, it doesn't make me feel anything. I just don't like it. It isn't right. Okay. Her language was different. She didn't want to be asked how she felt. She just knew that it wasn't right. So even though I would have called that a feeling, that's not what she did. So she changed the grid, moved some stones, put the colors differently. The whole place just relaxed. She was so right. It was so beautiful, the vibration that she brought in when she brought in a different aspect to that grid. So whether you call it feeling, whether you call it experience, whatever it is, whatever you are actually feeling when you work with crystals, you need to pay attention to, because no matter what anybody else says, no matter what book says, if you aren't registering it, then it isn't helping you. It isn't being part of your toolkit, I suppose. In saying that, crystals do bring us into spaces that we didn't understand before, and feelings and experiences and expanded awarenesses that we might not have felt before. But what I'm getting at here is to be able to use the crystal to its full potential, you need to be conscious of the connection. Even if that connection is void, especially when we work with anger, there's sometimes when we pick up a crystal, if we're really busy or we're really angry or have a lot of fire energy running through us, and we pick up a crystal and it brings us down and it creates what we can experience as a void. So that in itself, that feeling of nothingness, I'm not getting any information, or I'm really frustrated because I'm not getting any information, is information. So being able to be comfortable in the empty spaces, being able to be comfortable and acknowledge the really busy spaces, really profound, and one of the things that crystals give us. So let me have a look at the next question I got. How to know what crystals do what? This is really interesting. So again, reference other people's information, because like for myself, I've been working with crystals for probably 38 years. So there's some crystals that doesn't matter whether, so it's amethyst. I know that amethyst across the board has a specific signature or a reaction with most people. There's different amethysts have a different variation on that. There's wisdom that comes with use. So being able to reference other people's wisdom is really good. The difference between having to consistently research and pick up someone else's book so you know what to use, and actually being able to pick up a crystal and feel it for yourself and use it, is the difference between whether you become really good at it and start to actually incorporate that wisdom of and the power of using crystals in your everyday life. So referencing other people's stuff is fantastic, but don't ever let it end there, because it will never actually become a wisdom. You'll constantly have to be searching outside of yourself for the answers. And with crystals, one of their profound gifts is that you don't have to do that. When you pick it up and you register that information and that connection or lack of connection, that's how you know what they do. So you could have 20 different amethysts in front of you, and there's one and only one that can really connect with you and create the harmony that's very specific, the particular cordial or cake mix that's very specific to what you need in that moment. So to know what crystals do what, exactly what we did in the first bit, taking a few breaths, picking it up. Or if you don't have one particular crystal and you're trying to choose from a few, being able to stop and come and become present in your body, present in your heart, the heart coherence. I hear a lot of people talking about that now. I'm big on that. And when you work with crystals, it's really profound, and that's the way in. So I've got a shelf, or quite a few shelves in my clinic, of all different crystals. So how do I know which ones do what? I can be thinking, oh, I really need this person to ground, which is often a thought that I think. So I'll go to the shelf with my grounding crystals on it, and I'll just look, and one will jump out. Often it will jump out, but then I'll have an instant thought of another crystal, or my eyes will go up to another crystal, and I'll put those two together, and that will be the perfect combination to be able to help that person ground. So to know which ones do what, just to recap, reference other people's work and be really interested. That's a great way to start, and to even know what crystals to look at in the first place. But mostly trust yourself, trust who you are, trust your connection, and trust what you are feeling or not feeling when it comes to crystals. If you get into a space where you don't feel like you can trust yourself and you want more information, what I recommend is moving away and going and doing something else and coming back, and you'll find that there's one crystal. There's another course that I did, was teaching how to do a crystal, met crystal elixirs. I had an amazing young woman there, and very strong woman, and she's walking around. They had to choose what crystal off the shelf that they wanted to make an elixir from, and she's walking around going, I can't do it. Nothing's jumping out at me. But every time she stopped next to one particular crystal. So I just got her to breathe, because I noticed that, because I could see it, and look around her and say, what was the one that she noticed the most, rather than knowing which one that she had to use for the crystal elixir. So again, it can be micro differences in how you perceive yourself. So she was looking for one because she wanted to create the best healing elixir and had all of these expectations on it, whereas she wasn't listening to her natural body's magnetism that kept taking her to one crystal. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with choosing a crystal, move away and come back and just take notice of where your body naturally goes to, that natural magnetism, because crystals work on our physical structure. They help us connect with awakening and quantum and all of those things, but realistically, they're made of earth. So paying attention to where your body goes and how your body feels is really, really, really important with knowing which crystals to use and what they do for you. So next question was, also with knowing what crystals do what. So again, feeling it for yourself, asking a question. So once you've got used to being able to work with crystals and finding a space that you're relaxed and you're in a good present zone, asking questions. So even if you've written it down beforehand or just feeling those questions as they come up. So I can hold this crystal, and even though I've been working with this crystal for at least 6 years, asking the crystal, what do you do? What can you do for me? What will you do for me? You're allowed to ask those questions. So let me find out what this one will do for me that I don't know or I've not experienced before. To be really honest, this crystal's got a really great sense of humor. It brings joy and humor, which is interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that for amethyst, but this particular crystal, I noticed that a lot of people who pick her up feel the same thing. I'm just being reminded of that. I knew it mentally, but now I'm feeling into it after I had that question. I can just feel that humor bubbling up. So yeah, knowing what crystals do for you or what they can do for you, ask. And then be curious enough and have the grace to create the space to be able to let the information come in. Don't chase it. Okay, so next question was how to use your crystals to create what you want. This means that you need to know what you want. So often we think we know what we want, and it's other people's perceptions and expectations of us that we're trying to live up to. When you start working with crystals, it helps ground your soul, your true purpose into your body. So when you're first asking that question, okay, I want to make $1 million this week, or I want to make $500 this week. Let's make it attainable. So I want to make $500 this week. What crystals are going to help me do that? So being able to ask that question and look around, and my first instinct comes up with carnelian because it's a fire grounder, it's a dew and an action stone, maybe some garnet, something like that. Just feeling into, I've got to put that down, she's giving me too much information. So being able to help you create what you want. So sometimes we think we want the $500, but we actually want the $500 to pay this bill or to do that. So just understand when you're working with crystals, you might get more than what you bargained for, or you might get exactly what you bargained for. So spending some time first to work out what it is you actually want, so the path is clear and that there's not much resistance in the way, is the best way to start this. So your favorite crystal that helps you get into a really good present state, fantastic. Using the earth as a crystal, sitting on the earth and breathing into your body and really grounding down here, letting everything go and breathing into your heart and feeling what you actually want, then picking your crystals is how I would recommend doing it. Also with your crystals, again, you can research other people's wisdom. There are ones that are specific for money, specific for love, specific for focus, those kind of things. So starting off there and then actually feeling into the crystals yourself. So if you're in a shop and you wanted to buy crystals, and you've gone in there specifically to buy a crystal to if you know that you're going to be traveling overseas and you want something to help you navigate everything that goes with going overseas, just being able to hold that question coming into your body, being present, holding that question in your heart and feeling how your body responds, feeling what it is that you want, and knowing that crystals can give you an expanded view on that as well. So this all takes practice. Again, with crystals, what they do is they help us maintain a specific vibration for longer periods of time. So if you would like to create focus, if you would like to create a clear speaking voice, if you would like to create a magnificent garden, understanding your long picture of that will help you know what crystals that you want to bring in. And so you might have some crystals that help you, first off, nourish yourself and build your energy up, and then you will need a different crystal once your energy is built up to keep you focused and in line, and then another crystal at the end to really enjoy the wisdom of the experience and then be able to start it all again. So you might have a set of 3 or 4 different kinds of crystals that work together to create your outcome. So just considering that, as I said, before you start picking your crystals for creating a certain outcome, ground. Go and sit on the earth. If you can't sit on the earth, at least drop your energy down into the earth, into your heart, so you actually know your long picture of what you want, and then you can start to facilitate what those areas, where along that journey you need support and you need a consistent vibration. Okay. We might do a little bit more work on creating with crystals. I'll do a video just specifically on that because I think it's a really massive area and it's really interesting, and the results that you get are phenomenal and often really fast when you do it well. How to know, next question is how to know what crystals work with each other well. This is really interesting. I remember the first time I started to really comprehend. I mean, I naturally put crystals together all the time, like I was just saying, in my creation and things like that. Or if I'm working with the crystals on somebody's body in a healing space, or doing grids and things like that. I remember the first time I was in my shop. I don't have, well, I sort of have a crystal shop now, but I used to have a crystal shop and organic cafe, and I put 2 crystals on the shelf. So it was labradorite and tiger's eye. And I picked them up and I just hated the combination. And hated isn't too strong a word. It was powerful. It was like, this is horrible. It was so discordant, and I'd never, because I'd always been working with crystals and feeling them in combination and when they work in harmony or when they just don't work at all. This was such a profound repulsion to each other, which I don't actually think those crystals have a repulsion to each other, but it was just those specific ones with me at that specific time. But it really taught me a lesson to know when I'm going to work with crystals, what I do. Okay, so we've got to show you here. So next to my computer, I have a bowl. So in the bowl, I've got smoky quartz. So this will be a good one next because this is well and due for a clean. I have clear quartz, beautiful Lemurian quartz that I have. A piece of glass, shiny glass from my son. I have a unicorn because they bring the magic to earth. And I have selenite. So these all working together create a specific feeling for me. There's intention behind each crystal. There's a way that each crystal makes me feel. So say with this piece of glass, it's not actually a crystal, but what that does for me is it's shiny and it's beautiful, and my youngest son absolutely loves it. It helps keep me light, and where it doesn't have to be so much about only having stones because they're not man-made, and all of that drama and stuff that comes with judgment and expectation. Like, this is a piece of shiny glass that helps me just be out of that. So I've got my amazing smoky quartz, which helps me bridge worlds, which helps deal with the electromagnetic pollution coming out of the computer, and lots of other things. What else does it help me with? It helps me with being grounded again, but also, staying connected to my true wisdom. Unicorn, it's a rubber. I can rub things out. And also, to me, a unicorn means that I'm bringing magic to earth. I don't always have to move towards the magic. I can call the magic towards me. So every time I look at that, I don't have to think about that, but I know it has that vibration. Selenite, because it's beautiful and clearing, and I pretty much use selenite everywhere. It just keeps me in that high vibration. And I'm holding this one. So, and with my clear quartz, this is often when I need to have clear thinking or clear thought processes that are still elevated. I'll pick this up, and this will be my touchstone while I'm thinking. I'm going to run my thumb over here. So this is how I knew these crystals work. Isn't because I read it in some book. I mean, I've got a rubber in there in the shape of a unicorn. I've got, a piece of glass. How I know those crystals work together is my intent, is how they make me feel, what story they have for me. And I don't have to have them in a particular grid. Or grids are amazing and powerful. There's other videos on that. But so knowing that they work together is how you feel. I know I keep harping on that, but it's true. It's about how you feel and how they function for you. There's another one here. So this is a beautiful friend of mine made this for me. So knowing that these two crystals work together, she's got snake skin that's been was shed through here, a beautiful piece of Aussie wood, rose quartz, and amethyst. So when Ali made this, she understood that she was wanting to move the Kundalini energy from deep spirituality and healing to kindness and love and power, and being able to create a talking stick that kept that vibration together. So how did she know that they work together? Because she's used them together before, because she knows what the two things that she wants to have happen, or the elements that she wants to create and bring focus to and hold together in that same story. So that's how you know what crystals work together. Using them, making sure that you're checking in all the time, being consciously aware. Okay, and lucky last question, how to know when to clean them. I've actually got a book I'm almost finished writing, just on how to clean crystals and all of the different ways, and it's awesome. It's a cool little book. So with this one, what you can see is, just thinking if I've got one. No, it's dull. When I pick it up, I know this crystal. Usually, it's really shiny and clear through, and whereas now I'm just picking it up and there's lots of story in it. When you meet a friend and without them even saying anything, they can have a smile on their face, or not, and you just know that they've had a hard week and they need to go to the beach and have a rest. They just need to have a laugh and some good food and a giggle, watch a great movie. That with your friends. It's exactly the same with crystals. But again, it's checking in and getting out of your head, being in your body and being here so that you actually understand what's going on. So I also have crystals in specific spaces all around my house in different places. So when I know that, so it'll be checking in, but sometimes you, especially with the crystals around your house and stuff, you just go into every day and you don't necessarily check in all the time. So I make sure I check in my equinoxes and my different moons. But also if I notice that different things are changing in the house, so the harmony isn't different. I might not be enjoying cooking, and or it might be that there's been a period where my hubby and I have just not been connecting. And so I'll use those experiences or those feelings to check in and go, okay, well, I've got different grids and different, when you understand what crystals are, they're tools of consciousness. So when I know that I need to I'm noticing a change or a downward spiral in the energy in my home, I know that I need to go in and either change or clean and clear the crystals because they've just been holding that space and they've accumulated a lot of story, and or the space has accumulated a lot of story even though the crystals are there. It just depends on how you look at it. Some people go, no crystals need to be cleaned, or other people go, everyone does. Like, you know, six of one, half dozen of the other. It's about how the space feels. So if I know that, as I say, my husband and I haven't been connecting or something like that, I'll go and clean all of the crystals, give the space a clean, and then reset it with his heart. And that whole, it's such a joy to be able to clean and to be able to clear a space, because I'm clearing and cleaning my space and I'm nurturing myself at the same time. So when you think about your crystals like that, when you consider them and understand that they're tools of consciousness. So being able to know if there's a consciousness in the house or the space that isn't working, being able to come in and realign your crystals, or reconnect with your crystals. Sometimes it's not even the crystals, it's just that you've been switching off and changing and just need something different. So knowing when to clean them is when it feels different, or when you're not feeling the upward ding. Again, also having specific times where like on your equinoxes and things like that, or your different moons where you clean and work with them. What else? I think that was our lucky last question I had for this week. So, beautiful people, thank you for listening. We hit the half an hour mark anyway. More questions, put them underneath and let me know. I'm going to do this every week on different things. I've been working with crystals for, as I said, I'm 44, so I think I got my first one when I was about seven, maybe 8. And thinking about this week, I got my first crystal. It was a rose quartz, and it was from in the shopping centre. You know how they have those pop-up shops? So I remember my mum bought it for me at Chermside Shopping Centre, and that crystal, 38 years later, I don't have it anymore. I actually gave it to a South African friend who went home when the apartheid was being demolished. So I gave it to him so that he had that piece of love. But parents who are buying crystals for their kids and things like that, just remember that one little crystal that they're talking to you about or nagging you about, and you just want to get home, or you've got this, whatever, just understand that maybe it could change their life. And I know my work with crystals has helped change many, many, many hundreds and hundreds of other people's lives. So just thinking that through the week. So just remember that what might seem insignificant to you can be really, really important and change someone else's life. Thank you. See you later, beautiful people. I'll see you same time, same place next week.